I've just bought my first ever drone and I'm pretty excited about it. It's the DJI Mini 4 Pro. Weighing in at less than 250 grams, it's DJI's most advanced mini camera drone at the time of recording this video, and costing less than 700 quid, it's actually something normal people can afford to go out and buy. I've had the drone for a few months now, and I've used it on a couple of big shoots working as a news camera op. I wanted to make an honest first impressions review and test out some of the features I've not yet had the chance to. And to make this as interesting as possible, I'll do all of it while walking up a mountain in the Alps.
One of the main reasons I went for this drone is its size. It's less than 250 grams, which means there's way less restrictions on where you can fly it and what you can do with it. But also it packs down super light, which is great for me, talking to you lot, for example, walking up a mountain. But it's also good for my day job. For news camera operation, one of the most important things is speed. If you spend too long faffing around, then you could miss your one and only chance to get the shot that you want to get. So I thought a good first exercise would be in real time setting up this drone without any cuts, just to show you how quickly you can get it up in the air. I've obviously done all the sort of registering with DJI and setting up my account, so this is literally just setting up the drone. I'm going to use my bag as a platform there. So this is it again. Quite a small guy. Okay, already on. With a controller, you can see you get these little joysticks in the back which you need to take out and put on the front. I'll turn it on while I'm doing that. Okay, second joystick. Okay, I just need to make sure that the propellers aren't going to hit anything, so that's a good enough platform for me. Wait for the controller to turn on and connect. It's already connected there, so I'll hit record and take off. So one of the major improvements with the Mini 4 Pro is the ability to record 10-bit colour with its new D-Log-M picture profile. And this probably doesn't mean anything to a normal person, but you can see the examples yourself. I think the Alps right here are looking really nice and juicy in the autumn colours. And the drone, I think, is doing a pretty good job at doing it justice. There's definitely a visible, significant improvement in colour from 8-bit, which is what you get with the Mini 3. While I've got this thing up in the sky, another thing worth mentioning is exposure control. The lens is fixed to f1.7, which is obviously quite a high aperture, and the drone in auto mode just adjusts other parameters in order to dial in the exposure. During the day, the drone has to boost up the shutter speed in order to get a correct exposure. But if you go in off what a standard shot looks like in auto, which is what I've got now, I think it looks pretty good. DJI does have these little ND filters that you can buy and put on the drone, but I personally haven't bought into this because it sort of defeats the purpose of this little drone being a convenient and quick thing to get off the ground. There we go. Okay, so as a little test, that was 20 minutes. The battery had 100% in it when I took off, and it's come back down now with 35% battery. DJI advertises 34 minutes of battery life. So actually, if you work it out, that's pretty accurate in the conditions that I've flown it in. I imagine that it would take a little bit more battery out of the drone if it was more windy. Today it's quite a still day, and I've not really been flying it super fast around. I've just been doing little gentle movements.
Another thing DJI advertises is the drone having a maximum flight distance of 18 kilometers under what they call optimal conditions. This isn't something I've actually put to the test because I don't usually like to fly the drone outside my visual line of sight, but I was able to push its limits while filming in the recent floods in Spain. There was a town that was particularly badly hit that we weren't able to reach by car, so I decided to put the drone in the air from the start of the roadblock. The drone started to experience some connection issues after just a couple of kilometres, but there were plenty of large buildings around and the conditions were less than ideal, with it being a recent disaster zone. That being said, that couple of kilometres of range meant I was able to get some really astonishing footage that I otherwise wouldn't have without this little camera in my toolkit, so I was really thankful for the drone in that particular set of circumstances.
Okay, I'm just entering a much more dense bit of woodland now, and I thought this could be a good spot to test out obstacle avoidance, because there's lots of trees and they're very close to each other. You can see on here it's got these little cameras. There's one here, and some here as well, just behind the propeller. And what these do is just detect where the drone is in space at all times and make sure that it can't crash into objects such as trees. Okay, I've got it set to bypass mode. I'm just going to fly it in a straight line. Now, I've heard sometimes it can't recognise leaves, so I'm going to avoid that. I'm just going to fly towards trees that have got no branches on them and see what happens. So here's the first one coming up. Yeah, you can see it just sort of skirting around it there. That's not me, that is fully the drone. And keep going with this one, see what it does. Yeah, just skirts around it. That's pretty nice, and that actually, I think, would make me feel more confident flying it below the canopy. In the past, I've never done this with drones before because I don't want it to break. So I'm going to turn it around. That beep in there is just it saying that there's obstacles nearby. And we're going to fly it towards these trees. And you can see me there. Again, it's just swooping around. That's not me doing that. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe I'll try a little shot, which I'll turn it around to face me. I'll try and orbit me. So there's me, and move round slowly and do an orbit through the woods. So you can see the shot's not too, it's kind of jittery because the drone's starting and stopping and trying to move forward and back, and right now it doesn't really want to move sideways because there's bushes there.
Battery level is low. Aircraft will return to the home point in 10 seconds.
Let's come a little bit closer. And let's do this a really slow side to side movement again, using me as the target. And it doesn't want to move actually. So what I'm sort of finding here, I'll come and land it now because the battery's low. It's kind of quite cautious. It doesn't want to move into areas where it could crash, and that's good. That's really good. Okay, so what I think happened there is it was so keen not to crash into a tree, it didn't want to move at all. It was in like a tricky spot, so I had to literally go and retrieve it. So I think it's great that it's being cautious and it's not crashing, but in that scenario it would have been quite annoying if I wasn't so close to the drone. I don't think that I would use it while getting arty shots through the woods because it does seem to be quite careful. Like, you can't get too close to the trees, and when it swerves it doesn't really look too great, but it's definitely something that I think would allow me to have the confidence to fly the drone in certain environments that I usually wouldn't fly a drone in.
If you really are keen on getting this sort of low down beneath canopy shot like I've done here in Sweden, I've actually found that the best thing to do is just turn obstacle avoidance off, find a nice straight line path with no branches in it, and just fly really slowly.
Okay, so I've just made it up onto this more open forestry road. I figured this could be a really good spot to test out Active Track. Active Track is just an AI function, which is new, and it allows you to literally draw on the screen onto a subject, and it will follow that subject. So I think that subject will be me, and I'm going to walk along this road and see how well it follows, and see if this is something that I'd actually consider usable. I actually tried this last week in this exact location, but I ended up crashing it. Oh, shit. And I think it was something to do with the fog. And I also had obstacle avoidance turned off, and I forgot to turn it back on again. The drone was actually fine in the end. I just picked it up out of the grass and gave it a little bit of a wipe clean, and I literally just flew it off again, and it was completely okay. So I was pretty impressed with that. And it sort of bodes well for the longevity of one of these drones. So let's get this thing in the air.
Take off.
Okay, choose Active Track, go. Okay, now I'm going to walk up this road a little bit and see what it does. Wow, that is pretty mad. I mean, imagine showing someone this 100 years ago. It's doing a pretty good job. Wow. So I'll just walk up the road a little bit. So while you're flying it as well, I'm doing all of this one-handed. You can also change where you want the drone to be. So I'm going to put it a little bit higher up. And I think I'll walk along a little bit as well. You can hear it doing the obstacle avoidance there. There's a canopy above it, so it's trying not to hit it. Yeah, that is really cool. So I think I'm going to turn around and I'm going to walk this way. Oh. And it's avoiding a tree that I can see up there. So just keep going. I can see this being really useful. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Hang on, I'm just going to put this down. Okay, I can actually see there. It got a bit confused and it got stuck between two branches of a tree, and it looked like it was coming close to crashing again. And since I've had it crash before in this mode, I didn't want to take the risk, so I've turned Active Track off. I'm not sure how much I would trust it in the trees, but definitely out in open spaces, I would be trusting this. So I think I'm going to bring it down, save the battery, move up to the next bit and see what other features we can test out.
In the interest of being fair, here's me also using Active Track on a more open space. So I'm riding my bike here along a canal, and it seems to be tracking me pretty nicely from a range of different distances. I can see this feature coming in really handy when you're trying to film yourself or work alone while having to concentrate on other things other than operating a camera. And for a bit of a comparison, here's me tracking a subject with Active Track turned off, just using the controls. I wouldn't consider myself as being an expert drone pilot, but it is quite easy to track subjects smoothly just using the joysticks.
Okay, I think I'm coming to the next stop that I want to try out another feature called waypoints. I've got this lovely winding road in front of me, then there's some trees, and then behind a beautiful mountain landscape. Waypoints is a function where you can pre-program a path for the drone to take, and it gets the shot for you. I'm going to try a shot here where I fly the drone along the path so it goes over me hiking and reveals this mountain landscape behind the trees. So I'm going to hit record and then go into waypoint mode. So I've got to press C1 to set my first waypoint, and my second waypoint I think will be up here. So you got the mountain in the background. So hit next. I want it to be faster than walking speed, so I'm going to go for about 7 kilometers an hour. So I'll hit go, and I'm going to go over and see how it looks. Okay, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. It's a good feature if you want to concentrate on doing other things, or if you're just not confident to get those smooth, consistent shots. So I think I will be experimenting with that quite a lot more, and I think you can possibly get some really cool stuff. But for now, I think I'm going to push on to the top of the mountain and give some final thoughts on the drone. I've still got another 5 kilometers to go, so I'm going to put my head down and get it done. I'm sat at about 1,600 meters. I've climbed about 1,000 just to make this silly little video. So if that's not a good enough reason to become subscriber number 22 on my subscriber list, then I don't know what is. My sort of main thought about this drone is that it's not about all the cool little features it has. It's more about how sort of light and versatile it is. And I think it's so light and versatile and easy to use that you'll find yourself using it on a lot more occasions than you would with, say, a bigger drone. I've just walked up a mountain with it, and it didn't really add any significant weight or space in my pack. Often when I'm trying to decide whether or not to buy an expensive thing, and for me this thing cost about 1,000 euros, so it wasn't, it wasn't cheap. I just sort of think about how much I'm going to use it and factor that into the price. One thing I've realised with this drone is that I am using it lots because I'm able to use it lots, and I'm able to use it in quite remote environments. Like here, I'm about 7 or 8 kilometres away from the nearest house, and everything that I have with me comes in my backpack. If I had a larger drone in my kit list, then yes, I'd probably get significantly nicer images. But the fact of the matter is I wouldn't use it as much. So it wouldn't really result in me having a larger diversity of shots in general on the sort of shooting that I'm doing, which is going up mountains and also with the news. I seriously do think for the price of this drone, it is really worth the money. And I would consider it over the larger and sort of more expensive models, depending on what your use case is and also your budgets. But as I say, for me, I think this is actually the perfect drone for what I'm using it for. Anyway, that brings me to the end of my video. I'm going to fly the drone up one last time so that you can enjoy some shots of the Bavarian Alps. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you on the next one.